Morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Rant, brought to you from the Goldfish Bowl, which is really hot and muggy this morning. I've had to prop that door open and open those doors to try and get some sort of draft flowing through here, because it is really muggy here. Not Louisiana muggy, but muggy for the UK. Where I'm going to start this week is by plugging another artist. This chap is a Finnish artist, a guy called Sebastian Tier. I've talked about him before. He goes by the stage name of Kebu, and he is a keyboard wizard. There's only one way to say about it. He is a keyboard wizard, and he's just released the second single from his new album called Urban Dreams, which is not out yet, but this is the second single from that particular album. And for those that don't know who Kebu is, go look him up. Go look him up on YouTube. He has his own channel. I would describe him as a modern version of Jean-Michel Jarre. So he's basically taken what Jean-Michel Jarre was doing and put his own spin on it. But he is very good. A very good musician. The reason I switched on to him was because he does a lot of work with old school and legacy tech. And if you look at the current single and look at the stuff that he says he's used to make the single, you know, and it's much more than this. But I just pick out some highlights: a Jupiter 6, a Juno 106, an 808, an Oberheim expander, an Alcis Andromeda, and the list does go on. So there's a lot of old tech used in the creation of his music, and he does a lot of his music using old tech as opposed to modern synthesizers. Now, don't get me wrong, he doesn't not use modern synthesizer, because he was asked by Roland to promote this beautiful keyboard that sits in front of me. He came over to London and did the launch party. And you may have seen that on the Roland channel. If you watch Woody on Piano Shack, he was invited over to that launch party, which was at Abbey Road, and they launched this, and they launched the Phantom. And Kebu has been doing a lot of work on both this. There's been videos from the Roland channel about him playing this. There's been videos on the Roland channel and his own channel about him playing the Phantom, or as I like to say, the Kronos Contender, because we're waiting for Korg to see how they're going to match that. So he does work with modern synthesizers, but he's also heavily into the old school. He's got a studio full of this equipment. That's why I switched on to him. That's why you should be looking and watching this guy. As I say, the video for the new single is on his YouTube channel, and what it does is it showcases this master keyboard technician playing all the keyboards in that schoolboy arena. So if you're a keyboard player, you know, if you're not a keyboard player and you're watching this, you're wondering what I'm talking about. But you know, keyboard players want to have keyboards around them, all right? Old school keyboard players anyway. And you know, typically you'd have racks of keyboards down this wall and racks of keyboards down this wall and racks of keyboards behind me. The choice is infinite. I'm one of the lucky people because, you know, in my storage unit I have lots of keyboards and I do rotate keyboards in and out. But some people actually have these things permanently in their studio. Look at people like Jordan Rudess, Kebu, you know, and Moby, guy from Erasure, Vince Clarke, you know, Tom Holkenberg. They all had, or Tom's trying to sell his at the moment, but they all had racks and racks of keyboards, because that's how a keyboard player works. That's how I work anyway. You know, you go to a keyboard and you develop a sound. Anyway, this particular song is a very 80s themed ballad. I am a massive fan of this guy. I've tried to see him now twice. The first time he was coming across to the UK, and for him touring is a big deal because he has to literally pack his studio up and brings it all with him because of the way that he writes the music. It's all sequenced onto, you know, hard disk recorders and stuff like that. And so he brings literally the whole studio with him. So it's a big deal for him to go on tour. Anyway, the first time he was due to come over, he overdid it and ended up in hospital, which wasn't brilliant, but he ended up having to postpone a large number of dates, including the ones in the UK, which was a real bummer. I had tickets for that, so the tickets got refunded. And the second time he was due to come over, the pandemic hit. So, you know, everything was postponed at that point again. So I'm hoping that third time lucky, that I get to see him the next time around. He has commented once or twice on videos on the channel, so thank you very much. It's nice to see certain people. I know there are certain individuals who comment on videos that are on the channel that are fairly well connected in the music industry, so hopefully I'm doing something right, even if I can't get my viewing figures up. I want to be in the thousands per day, not the hundreds per day, but hey ho. Anyway, go view, go support this artist who is doing something unique. I think he's doing something unique and totally electronic based in this weird music environment we seem to be in sort of 2020s and beyond. I keep doing that. I keep catching my thumb on the clapperboard. It's something I'm doing wrong, obviously. Okay, this is the part where we do this channel self-promotion. Whiz through it if you want, but I feel it's always important to remind people who are not members of the channel what the parish notices are. So, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you do like videos about the stuff in front of me, the stuff behind me, then hit the subscribe icon. If you want to be notified at the same time, bell icon is that also should be hit. Save time, save money, hit them both together. I really do enjoy comments that you guys leave on the channel, so please leave comments. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. That helps the channel and the video itself, but the comments are really important. I do read them, I respond to them. Sometimes you give me ideas for future videos, which is really, really good. Finally, down there are the address of the TMTG community, the Facebook and Instagram feeds. Facebook and Instagram, go tag me, follow me over there. That's where channel notices and daily shenanigans get posted. And the TMTG community allows you to sponsor the channel, keep the channel rocking and rolling for less than the price of a cup of coffee every single month. But now back to this particular video. It doesn't matter what I do to my hair, it always ends up looking a complete mess. I'm going to have to go and borrow one of the housemates' hairsprays, I think, in the future, just to sort of stop it falling into my eyes, even though it was only cut the other week. Hey ho. Anyway, the big news this week was by Behringer, who posted on their Facebook page that the pre-production pictures of the proposed new LinnDrum sampling drum machine. Now, the pictures will appear over here. Okay, so you can see them. Now, firstly, what does this mean? Well, A, it confirms the rumours that Behringer, I've got to get it right, I said Behringer, it's not Behringer, it's Behringer. But they were saying that Behringer had been working on another drum machine since the RD9 was let out of the bag a few years back. Now, obviously, we've been sitting waiting for the RD9 to turn up, and now it's finally shipping. But there was rumours that there was another drum machine in the skunk works. I personally thought it might be the Oberheim DMX. I thought that might be the drum machine that was in the works, but it turns out that it is the Linn. So that's kind of good news, and it also confirms a whisper that it was the LinnDrum, which I sort of thought, I kind of hoped it wasn't the LinnDrum. For no other reasons, I would have liked to see the Oberheim DMX, but it is the LinnDrum, and it looks very much based on the LinnDrum Mark II. So that looks like it's on its way, and I suspect, given the fact that they've now given pictures of a pre-production mock-up, that we have pretty much the circuitry in place, We have the first runner injection molds for the cases in place. We have the circuit boards in place, the sounds and tones in place, or the bass sounds and tones in place, and the characteristics of how the Linn works are all there. What does that mean? Well, they haven't given any detail on when this stuff is likely to hit market. I suspect they will probably be looking for some sort of launch date latter in the year or early 2022. But that's just my personal opinion. I have no other sources that tell me that sort of stuff, but I'm just working on sort of how long it takes to get this stuff through. Now, if you look at the Linn photographs that are over here, and then I look at the back of the RD8, which is here, you'll notice that they are very, very similar in terms of, there's a photograph over there that shows you kind of this piece here, and you can see they've gone for a very, very similar output. Now I think the Linn is going to be slightly longer than this, given the sort of the amount of controls it's got on it, but in terms of, it looks very much like it's going to be the same sort of form factor in terms of height, the same sort of form factor in terms of sort of the wedge, and it's also going to have all these multiple outs like the RD8 has here. So there's lots of similarities between this, the pictures that we've seen of the RD9 in terms of having lots of outputs on it. So it looks like they've really got a sort of model and a design pattern for this stuff going forward. So it's very possible we may see some other seriously classic drum machines being dropped by Behringer in the next couple of years to meet the desire of us drum machine heads, if you like. Sean, that's a quote for you, because I know anything that's drum machine based you're all over. Now I've got an RD8, obviously I've just seen that, and I've got a TR-08 and a TR-09, and I've also got a TR-8 which is here as well. And one of my biggest criticisms of the 08, 09 and this particular machine is the fact that they do actually lack the outs. In terms of this one, you have 2 assignable outs for the instruments on it. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 different instruments. But apart from a main mix out and these 2, you can't take any more analogues out of this. The TR-08 and 09, which I don't have here, literally just have a small 3/8 inch jack on them. So they're not. They don't allow you to take any individual outs. If you want to take audio out of it, it's a mix out. If you want to take individual instruments out, you have to have this plugged in USB to your computer, and then obviously have the right drivers in place to allow you to separate the instruments out from a USB. Now that has 2 issues. Number one, you've got to make sure the USB works, which many people seem to struggle with. But the second thing is these things are kind of designed with a DNA converter that is designed to replicate the sound of the original device. So if you plug an audio cable into here, you should theoretically get the sound of the original device, because it's been designed from the ground up to replicate that sound to an audio interface. If you plug it USB directly into your computer, you keep the signal pretty much digital all the way to your computer, and your DNA conversion is whatever you play out of your computer, which can have different DNA characteristics. And it is horses for courses. There are pros and cons for one way or over the other. But I think if you're kind of a purist, you want to take the audio out and then do the audio DNA into your computer or your DAW rather than the other way around. You know, I'm not going to get into the arguments over one way or the other at the moment, because it's just not worth. Anyway, as I said, the TR8 has multiple outs, but only 2 assignable outs. Whereas this thing, you know, what we've got over here, let's have a look. Where is it? Yeah, there's the main out. So I've got this is mono, so it replicates the original machine. So it's a mono out in the middle there. And then I've literally got an out per instrument all the way along here. So I can, every one of these instruments that's on the front of this machine, which is a standard 808 layout if you look at it, has a replicated jack at the back. So, you know, the bottom line is you can take out the bass drum, the snare drum, and you can individually master them somewhere else. And somebody else I saw talking about the 909 in the last week to 10 days, I think it was probably less than a week actually, was also talking about the fact that you need to be able to get you know, that 80s house or 90s house sound that you wanted. You need to be able to sort of separately deal with the bass and the snare drum to get it sort of so it's the right sort of funkiness for whatever you're trying to do. So, and that's quite faithful to where the 808 and the new 909 is also very faithful to the way the 909 dealt with instrument outs. So this new LinnDrum seems to be following suit. Anyway, while we're talking about Behringer, what I should do is now go on to talk about and something else that's been highlighted as being in production from the skunk works, and that's the proposed Behringer DS80, which is effectively a clone of the Yamaha CS80, a fabled synth from the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. Now, what they've said is that they have now managed to replicate 100% the complex circuitry of the CS80, which basically means they know how the CS80 now replicates or generates its sounds. That's VCFs, VTOs, envelope generation, all that sort of stuff. They've now managed to get that working. Now, admittedly, at the moment, this is sort of breadboard stuff. So, those who don't know, a breadboard is basically like a pegboard, and you plug components in and you route wires from one place to another place to try and get to try and work out how the circuitry needs to go with bigger components, and then you start designing the integrated circuit chips that you need to actually build this into a circuit that can go down into a synthesizer. You wouldn't be able to get breadboards into a synthesizer, far too big. So my guessing is that they probably will start sharing prototypes of this again sometime towards the end of the year, because now they've got to do the circuitry design, then they've got to rough up some PCBs and some circuits. They've got to rough up a keyboard case. What's it going to look like? What buttons are going to have on it? And the other thing they're going to do, which they seem to have done on all the clones that Behringer have released over the last couple of years, is what is the Behringer feature? So things like this on the RD8. Okay, these weren't on the original, but they've been added. They've added features to the 909. You can run the 909 in original mode, or you can run it in enhanced mode. Okay, so enhanced mode is not what the original 909 sounded like, but it's a different idea on the same thing. So I suppose they've got to now work out, you know, once they've worked out how do you make this thing work, this keyboard, what is it you're going to add to the keyboard to bring it, you know, what are the things that were missing that people were saying, well, wouldn't it be good if you could do this, or wouldn't it be good if you could do that? What are those things, and what are you going to incorporate into your keyboard? So that's good news. Another one on my bucket list. I'd never be able to afford a CS80, not now. So I'm really looking forward to a DS80 coming along. And we also want to know is, when is the UBXA going to start shipping? Oh. And the final segment for this week's rant is actually about something I saw coming up on eBay. And the pictures of what I'm talking about will appear over here, okay, as I go through it. But I saw a sample disc for the Yamaha TX16. For those that don't know what that is, I actually have it here. Oh. This is the Yamaha TX16W. Now I've been doing some work on that, which is why it's here, and it's why some of the discs are here as well. Anyway, I saw a disc for that from the Sampling Sound Databank series, which was an official series that was launched by Yamaha to support the TX16W. And it was one of these discs. It's not this particular one, but it was one like this. That's what they look like. And it should be up over there. And that was on eBay, I kid you not, for £142. Okay? And some random pence, because it's obviously it's not in I think it might have been listed in dollars, and obviously that's what the UK translation comes across as. So this is great news for me, methinks, because I've got 50 of these discs in my collection, 50 of the originals in cases and everything. That means that my investment is probably circa £7,000. I've also got the Studio Series discs, the original Studio Series discs, which is something slightly different. So God knows what that disc collection is now worth. I say in jest, because honestly, is this really worth £142? I'm sorry, I don't think it is. I really don't think this is worth £142. Moving on from that, and I can't find the listing, so it's obviously gone. But I saw that listed on eBay a few weeks back, and it was listed for £500. Right, so I've got most of these in my collection in storage, and it was only that I was down in storage this morning that I picked these up to do the video with. They're all going back down to storage because I'm not using them at the moment, apart from the 16, which is going back into storage at some point in the week. But that was up for over 500, and there's another one, a picture up on screen here at the moment, which is another of the Avic Soft series that they did for the DX7, and that's up for £525. And this is what gets me right. It also has £99 for postage. Come on, somebody should be challenging this. I mean, eBay had a thing a few years ago where they were telling sellers not to put ridiculous amounts of postage on top. Right? I know that to get something that size to the other side of the world will cost me, including packaging materials and all the other stuff that goes with it, and that's tracked and signed, £20 tops. So I can't see how the seller on the other side is saying it's going to cost him £99. You're having a giraffe, son, is how I would put that. But look, the bottom line, and the reason I raise this is because, yes, this stuff is becoming rare, and yes, I am doing my best to preserve this stuff. If you go over to eBay and you type in MTech Guy in the search, you will find a list of all the discs that I am preserving for you guys. I'm not preserving them, I mean, obviously I'm preserving them for me because I use them. I mean, I don't use any of the original discs that I have in my collection. I use copies, and I do that on purpose because of the fact that I don't want to ruin the original discs by putting them in and out of machines. But yes, they are rare, but no way is that worth £142. Yeah, I'm sorry, whoever's selling them is taking somebody on a ride there. So guys, if you see this sort of stuff at these inflated prices, do not buy it. It's just not worth the aggro. Now I get people who will be screaming about SysX now at the camera. And I get the whole SysX thing, I really do. I use SysX, but to be honest, if you're working with a machine and you want to change the sound bank or change the sounds up, for me, having a disc is the easiest thing. The next thing would be to have a USB drive control in the machine, and I know a number of you who watch this channel have got that scenario going on. That just means that you have to be really quite slick in your cataloguing. So you need to know of your 100 or so discs that you've got on your USB stick, which one contains the sound that you want. So that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't gone to it, because I'm just old-fashioned. I just like flicking through the discs. But either of those are preferable for me than Sysx. So that's kind of the first thing. So these things, you should be paying, even if it's uber rare, you should be paying no more than £50 for one of those. For one of these, yeah, they are getting rarer and rarer and rarer. As I said, I've got in storage, I've got the full, well, I think I've got virtually every one of these. Now, there's probably a few I'm missing from some obscure sound development houses from the sort of 80s and 90s. But they, I would say, for the uber rare ones, you're probably thinking about £150. But in no instance should you ever be paying more than about £20 in postage. As I say, I can get that from this side to the other side of the world, and I've done it a couple of times with people who've asked me for stuff. Bigger boxes than that, I've got from here to the other side of the world for £20. So you should be paying no more than £20, and eBay should be cracking down on people who are doing that. It's meant to be fair postage and packaging. That means, how much does it cost for you to pack this stuff up in a box with packaging to make sure it's safe and secure, and send it tracked to your customer? That's what fair postage is. I always try to be fair on my postage when you buy stuff off my eBay shop. Yes, you may turn around and say it doesn't cost that much to get it from there to there. Believe me, it does. I've been caught out a couple of times, definitely in the last 6 months, where Royal Mail and the courier services have upped their charges, and I haven't reflected that, and I've actually made a loss on the postage. But there you go. The other thing you've got to remember about eBay postage is eBay take their 15% out of your postage as well. So in terms of postage, it's not only the cost of the materials and the postage itself, you also got building 15% for eBay, because eBay want their slice of the postage that you're paying to the vendor to send it to you. I think that's wrong, but that I know why they've done it. They've done it to catch the Herberts out in the Far East, who were charging £5.50 for the item and £500 for the postage. Okay, so anyway, don't buy stuff like this that's inflated. Eventually these opportunistic sellers will get the message and will have to knock it onto somebody else who sells it at a reasonable price. Okay, and on that note, I'm going to say, live long and prosper. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.